Let's paint this cute lollipop together. I'm using my Lucas 1862 watercolors, and you can get this from Jerry's Artorama. I use whatever I can to draw circles, and in this case, I'm just using my camera lens cover. My paper is 4 inches by 4 inches. I'm using a pencil to mark the center of the circle, and then I'm going to start drawing swirls coming out from the center. You want to make sure that the curves are consistent in width, and that's why I erased a little bit. From there, I'm going to continue making swirls, again, working from the center, trying to keep my curves and swirls consistent in width. Take your time with this and sketch lightly. You don't have to make as many swirls as I did. You can do 3 or 4. I was just feeling a little ambitious. I'm just refining my swirls. And the last part of our sketch will be the lollipop stick. When you're all done, I like to use a kneaded eraser to pick up just the graphite. Kneaded erasers are great because they don't shave off pieces of the paper. They only pick up the graphite. I'm using a piece of washi tape to keep my paper in place. I'm going to use my spray bottle to wake up my paints and think about the color scheme that you want to do. I'm going to choose analogous colors, so choosing like deep pinks, purples, and blues. You can choose other colors like yellow, green, and blue, or red, orange. It's really up to you. Just have fun with it. I'm painting one swirl section at a time. And I started with the wet on dry method, but I also did a little bit of wet on wet. For this first swirl, I'm just kind of experimenting with whether I want to try to mix in different colors in a single swirl. Later, I'm going to change my mind about that. So that's the way it is for now. When I paint the second swirl, I'm not going to paint the one that's right next to the one I just painted. And that's because I don't want my paint to bleed into one another. I really want strong distinction between each swirl. So I'm going to give time for each section to dry. And I'm using a round size 3 brush primarily. I just lifted off a little bit of color there because I want to make sure to show some highlights. For this next section, I chose a cyan primary color. And again, trying to keep certain areas of it a little bit lighter in value. And darkening the corners of the swirls. Since I didn't want to paint a section that was right next to a swirl, I decided to go onto the stick, and I'm just using a really light gray color, and I'm darkening the area just under the lollipop and one side of the stick. The lollipop is already starting to take shape. It's looking good. I'm using the genuine rose color for this inner swirl, and I just love using that wet on wet technique. For this bottom swirl, I'm using dioxazine purple. I love using analogous colors like this. It really brings together the composition through color. If you try this and the colors that you chose doesn't seem to work out, that's okay. You can always try again. I'm using the lifting method again to show some highlights. Later on, I am going to use a white gel pen to show even more brighter highlights. Now I'm painting the last swirl in almost a reddish pinkish color. Now that all my layers are dry, I'm going to go back to each swirl and just darken any areas to show more contrast. Whenever you layer paints, make sure that your brush is drier and that your paint is not as runny or watery. You want to have really good brush control and paint control. Each time I finish a swirl, I kind of step back to take the entire painting in. Sometimes when I paint one area at a time, I get really focused, so it's good to step back every once in a while. Now I'm going to come back to that very first swirl that I painted, and I didn't like the multiple colors in this single swirl. So I'm going to go back over it and just try to blend it together with a medium pink color. Now I'm using a white gel pen to show even more brighter highlights. So I'm starting in the areas where I already lifted, and then I'm going to expand that a little bit. Use this pen to your discretion. Don't feel like you have to add a highlight in every single space. Just a single line here and there will do. If you don't have a white gel pen, you can use another kind of opaque white medium like white gouache or even whiteout. And if you don't have any of those options, then what you could do is darken some of the areas even more to show greater contrast in value. Then I come back to the lollipop stick and darken the area under the lollipop and that right side even more. I always like to lay down a little bit of paint and then fade it out with a clean brush. I wanted to add a little bit of texture with some splatter. The key to getting a really great splatter is to load your brush with the paint color and then dip it halfway in water so you have some extra liquid, and tap the brush lightly with your finger. I decided to use 2 different colors, the pink and the blue, and just look at that. Thanks so much for joining me in this tutorial. I'd love to see your work. If you follow this tutorial and paint your own, please share your work. You can tag me at Audrey Raw Design and use the hashtag #PaintWithAudrey. Please subscribe to my channel and get notified of when new videos are up. Please like this video and leave a comment saying hi or share something new that you learned. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.